Now, this is probably a career suicide, but I'm not much of a MOBA player, and I don't know where to really start with the world of MOBAs. Why is Heroes of the Storm the MOBA I should start with?
So we've always been fans of games in this genre, but when we finally set out to make our own, we kind of wanted to take our own take on it. And so what we did is we looked at the things that we thought were really fun in this genre, and then we also thought about what would we change. And so some of the things we did is we changed it so that you have a shared experience. So the teams level as a team together. So it's not just a single person who's kind of carrying a team. We thought this really opened up a lot of opportunities for gameplay. So we can start having wackier characters like Murky or the Lost Vikings or something where they're not standard characters. Also really helps out for supports where you don't necessarily need to be the one getting all the kills. It's okay if you're healing constantly because you're still contributing to the game, helping out your team and continuing to move forward. Some of the other things that are really cool about this game are the talent system. It's a way of really customizing your hero the way you want and based on the conditions of the game, depending on who's on your team, depending on who's on the opposing team, what battleground you're on, the map objectives. Those are actually super strong as well. And then another thing that I think is a huge attraction for me are just the heroes themselves. Like the Blizzard games have such a long history of characters, such deep lore in terms of Warcraft, Starcraft, Diablo, even our other older games, newer games we're making. And so a lot of people can just immediately identify with these characters, understand who Arthas is or who Raynor is, and feel right at home kind of jumping into these characters.
I was sold by the sheer fact you can be a Murloc and dress Diablo up as a Murloc, so sold already there. For new players, what's the learning curve like coming into this?
Sure. We actually, one of our goals was to make the game accessible, was to really make the game so that you could jump into it right away. And so I think we have a fantastic tutorial experience and user experience that kind of tries to walk you through some of the introductory ways that you can play the game. Then we've got a versus AI mode, which allows you to play against just the computer, basically. So you can learn the actual game a little bit closer, but still not playing against humans. Then we'll throw in where we'll actually match you with other humans on your team. And then finally, we've got our modes with quick match and ranked play modes where you'll actually go head-to-head against other humans. So I think all the game mechanics we talked about and just these different modes, they really allow you to get into the game at your own pace and then dive into that depth over time.
And we've talked a little bit about Diablo so far with the wonderful Murloc skins, but there's a lot more Diablo coming to Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, Phil can probably explain that pretty good.
Jump in, Phil.
So last year at BlizzCon, we teased the Eternal Conflict, which would have been the first time we're bringing a world, not just a character, from another universe into the Nexus. And we've done this in a way where geographically heaven and hell are nowhere near each other in the world of Sanctuary, but in the Nexus we've just smashed them together, and we're doing a huge content drop, the Eternal Conflict, which is all about Diablo for the next couple months. This is heroes, skins, mounts, and of course the battlegrounds. It's going to be all about Diablo. We're even adding a treasure goblin event where at the beginning of a match there's a treasure goblin on the loose inside your starting area, and if you take him out, it's a great opportunity to earn more in-game gold to buy heroes, mounts, and skins.
We're talking Diablo now, so now I understand where we're at. Who can we expect in the way of heroes?
In the way of heroes, we just released Johanna. The Butcher is very much on his way. We are talking a lot about Leoric right now, who has some very, very impressive new talents and traits. He's basically just like his D3 incarnation. He keeps on reincarnating. He can wraith walk. He can go on these rampages. Very unpredictable, very, very persistent. A great immersion for that character, and the first time we've gotten to play that boss character from Diablo. And then we've teased a little bit the Monk, who's going to be our first support hero from the Diablo universe.
Now, the Monk was a bit of a fan favorite. He was asked for by a lot of people. What makes the Monk special?
The Monk has a really, really cool difference in how we apply the trait. Usually when heroes are released, the trait is something that really defines them. For example, Leoric's Undying trait is something that means like he'll constantly resurrect. With the Monk, the player gets to pick the trait. At the first talent tier, you have a choice of 3 distinct traits that we'll talk about more in the future, but it basically gives Monk players the ability to say, okay, based on my team composition and the way I want to support my team, I could go a heavy DPS build, I could go more into a healing build. There's all sorts of things you can do, and it really plays to the Monk's strengths as being the D3 support character.
As the Monk is pretty customizable then, for those who understand the game pretty well, how would you play Leoric?
So Leoric has some pretty distinct advantages, one of which being his Undying trait, which means he never really has to go back to the starting area unless he wants to refuel. If he dies in the field, he becomes a ghost, and that ghost can position himself wherever he wants in anticipation for being resurrected at the end of his death timer at full health, full mana. While he's a ghost, he can even increase the time it takes for him to respawn by doing abilities that drain health. He's a very, very tricky character in that sense. He also has abilities like Wraith Walk, where he can leave his corporal body, astrally project a ghost to whatever position he wants, and then spawn the corporal body there. He has some really, really distinct ultimates, like his Entomb, which is borrowing from the Wallers that we've seen in D3. He creates walls around enemies, he locks down areas, or his other ultimate where he goes on the March of the Black King, where he just goes in a line, unstoppably wrecking anything in his path.
And I can assume we can expect some other cool Diablo goodies to come surfacing, extra skins maybe?
Yeah, actually, we're working on all kinds of stuff. There's a cool Nova skin, Novazon. We've got an angelic Diablo skin. There's a lot of cool stuff. There's also new mounts as well. So just all together, the whole package of Eternal Conflict is really just this whole event around Diablo, bringing it to the world of Heroes of the Storm.
And we said earlier the Monk was a fan favorite. Has this been a big push by fans to get extra Diablo content?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've always had a lot of feedback that, okay, you guys have pushed a lot of the Warcraft side, and you're kind of overrepresented there. How about some of these other games? And we agreed, and so really that's why we wanted to start with Diablo, with doing these kind of themed events where we can bring a lot more Diablo content based off of just this one, event.
The war for the very heart of the Nexus is about to begin. Which side will you choose?